the end of Smash Ultimate Summit 6, Akala was asked, is Japan the best region in the world? And Akala clearly said yes. And to me, it's not a contest. I don't know why there is a debate. Clearly, it's Japan. Japan is greater than the entirety of North America, which is the second strongest region, right? So I want to talk about what is going on. And so I'm going to be talking about the factors that kind of just were revealed at MySumma top number 12, because we have several strong representatives from the US and Canada, and how they ended up doing, I feel like, makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about how international people, not even just North America, did at MySumma top 12. We have Riddles, who got top 8 loser side, ended up getting 4th. Fantastic performance by him. Really, really good. Send 13th. He was the only American player to have a positive SPR, meaning that he outplaced his seed. Lima got 17th. I think that is about his seed. Cosmos, top, 10 player in the US, got 33rd. Dabuz, top 10 player in the US, got 33rd. Mr. R, 33rd. Hungrybox, 49th. Did really well. Jazzo, who got like 13th at a previous Japanese tournament, got 49th. Mutace got 65th. H4, who lives in Japan now, who's a Pikachu player, got 97th. J Dizzle, Seb Pro, and Zav got in the hundreds. Fatality went 1 and 2. So let's talk about why. When we talk about Japan, we expect them to have the greatness that they do when they are in Japan, right? Akola came over, won the Invitational. A lot of Japanese players do fantastically well when they come to America. T does well. Ken does well. Akola does well. Zachary had done well when he was more active. He hasn't come back since playing Pit, which I want to see the Pit. That'd be cool. But we expect them to do really well. And you know what? People will say, oh, well, like NA, they had jet lag. Whatever. It's hard. And yes, that is true. Jet lag sucks. I feel especially bad for Mutace because his flight got messed up and he got there an entire day later, and seeing how Mutace is, chronically ill, that really sucks for him. He didn't have the extra day. However, these are things other than the chronically ill part, as far as I'm aware. Actually, it does relate to Proto, which I guess I will get into. This happens for Japanese players too. When Japanese players come to the States, they get there Thursday morning, Wednesday night, have 2 days to adapt, play, be your best. And you know what? For the most part, they are. Akola is an incredibly strong player when he comes to the US, winning Summit, and, winning the Invitational, never getting outside of top 4 at a US tournament. No, sorry, he got 7th at Genesis. Never getting outside of top 8 at a US tournament. They're insane, right? Obviously, when they come to the United States, Shutone, T, Akola, Proto, Zachary have all done really well with the challenges that come with traveling halfway across the world. Just as a personal anecdote, I don't know if this works I don't know if it's the same for everybody, but for me, when I travel east to west, so the US to Japan, honestly, I was completely fine adapting to Japanese time zones. I would wake up early, if anything. I would get there, I would leave in the afternoon in the US. I would get there at night the next day because of how the days work and time zones. And then I would sleep, and then I would wake up at 9 in the morning perfectly fine. However, traveling west to east, so either back from Japan or when I have gone to Europe, it is awful. I sleep for 2.5 hours at a time. I'm generally not having a good time. I have insomnia a little bit. I have to take naps constantly, and I don't know if that's universal. It just happens to be for me. So in my head, traveling east to west, fine. Traveling west to east, awful. So US players going to Europe can be hard, and obviously Japanese players coming to the States can be really hard if that is true for other people. Again, that is just a personal anecdote. So I would do better traveling to Japan in terms of going to a tournament than I would going to Europe in terms of how I would personally feel. But it's really hard to travel constantly with jet lag, and you can't just expect all of these players to be able to get there multiple days early because they have jobs or school if it's Mia and Akola. And so yeah, I forgot, Mia came to the US and did amazing at whatchamacallit, at Apex, right? So yes, while these players went to Japan and had, Riddles did amazing. I think Riddles is the only player that did about as well as I expected because he's really good and he's a top 10 player in the world, and he got 4th, only losing to, Gact and Mia, who are incredible players. But it is so easy to get upset in this game in general because of matchups and because of, it's just hard, right? This game is hard. The consistency that some of these players have is incredible. The consistency that Leo, Spargo, the fact that these players just don't lose, Sonics, Akola, Mia, etc. They're just not losing to people. That's crazy hard considering how inconsistent this game is because there are so many good characters and so many players are good. But yeah, my days going to like a West Coast major are fine, but then coming back, I want to die. Like again, this is the chart of how poorly most people placed. H4 placed their seed. Hungrybox placed their seed. Mr. R and Lima placed their seed. Again, I'm not going to be mad at Riddles for getting -1 because he was 3rd seed because he's a great player. So, like, that's fine. And then Send was +3. And he ended up losing to another North American player in Riddles. So, 1, I think Japan clearly has the highest density of amazing players. They have the highest amount of best players of a character. We saw there was a banjo player that got 9th, right? TG got 9th. I think there's a different banjo. There's also Raito, right? Who's also in Japan, who's one of the best banjos. You obviously have amazing Corins and Steves and Game & Watches and Pac-Mans and Kazuya's and Samuses and Nesses and not the best Cloud. They generally don't have the best Swordy players because America loves Swordy players. They have the best Luigi. I'm gonna say Luigi's the best Luigi. But they're just really strong. Japan is just so strong. Again, this isn't even me shit-talking America, right? The US is a great region. Mexico might be stronger because, you know, if you think about the top US players versus the top Mexican players, then like, you know, you have the top, which are like Leo, Spargo, Meister, Skyj versus like Light, Dabuz, Cola, Onin, Karama, right? And then you have in Canada, you have Big D and Riddles are the main two. So again, North America as a whole is strong. Don't get me wrong. You know, at super top, Mexico's probably better. I think the farther down you go, there is more strength in the US. So it depends on what your like views of that are. Oh yeah, and Tweak. I literally thought Tweak, and then I forgot to say him. I always forget Tweak. I feel so bad. Literally, Tweak is, in my opinion, the second best player in the world. The US is very strong, but in my opinion, clearly, the strongest players are in Japan. And you see this because, again, the inconsistency of the US players that went there. I'm obviously very excited to see Kageribi and how it changes things, because if some of these players like Dabuz and Cosmos do really well, it's like, yeah, 100% jet lag, sure, or like better brackets, whatever. But it is going to be interesting to see a player like Akola still probably win, because it's Akola. I know Spargo's going. If Spargo does worse, it's either going to be because of jet lag, or it's going to be because Japan is just broken, or both. But again, you have to apply those type of factors of like, oh my god, it's jet lag, to both sides. I feel like I don't understand why this tournament happened, and everyone's like, oh my god, I feel so bad for Dabuz and blah, 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 because of jet lag. Like, I specifically feel bad for Mudace, because again, he has hand problems, and he has chronic pain and chronic, illness. And like autoimmune illness, so like a little different. These factors are important for everyone because you see people at the same time give shit to Proto Banham, who is a chronically ill top player from Japan who travels to the US, not super frequently, but frequently enough, and people are like, oh man, he's taking too long in the middle of games. That's crazy. Like, I feel like Japan has a lot of benefits, right? They're closer to everyone, especially compared to the US, because the US is a huge country. There is more of a grind online, which a lot of people like. I think online is actually really, really important for getting better, and I've always said that, even though the online is like worse than it could be. And again, one thing that that happens to me is people are willing to just improve their game with their character, regardless of how well it's doing. There have only been a couple of players that have just said, fuck it, drop my bad character, pick up a good character because top tier. Like, I feel like a lot of people in Japan just play characters because they like them, right? I mean, people say Yoshi is bad. Yoshidora played that character and was like, Yoshi's bad, and then he started winning, and people go, damn, Yoshi's pretty good. You know, all of the Toon Links that could have just played Young Link because Young Link's a better character. They say, no, we're going to do better with Toon Link, and they do well with Toon Link, like Sigma. You have so many strong representations of characters in Japan because there's no pressure for them to win, technically, because there's no money. Japanese tournaments, in case you are unaware, don't have money. So they just play for pride and ranking. And that's literally it. Like, if they, want sponsors so they can make content and stuff, they, want to do well, but it's different. Whereas, like, in the States, you go to a local to win money. Or you, like, if you are a high or top level player, you go to a local for experience and to win money. Whereas in Japan, they go to majors, which are 2,000 players big, and it's all the hardest players in the world for like some Wagyu steak, and I'm not even exaggerating. That's like a prize from one of the like Kageribis or Maisumas or something a couple months ago. But then you have all these like low tier heroes as well, like Shisho, the Mii sword fighter that I talked about. You have Higa-chan, the Ganon, or Gungnir, I think is also Japanese. You have the Banjo that I talked about. You have multiple Banjos. Raito literally picked up a worse character. And no, am I saying that like there are no low tier heroes in The US, no. You have peanut, you have bacon, you have, those are the main two that I think of. But I don't know, it's crazy. Like, the pride that they have is so different. And again, I just think Japan is stronger. I think they have better top players. I think they have better high-level players. I think they have so many just strong players. Again, T was scared of his round 2 opponent, who was an Incineroar player, because they randomly would get upsets sometimes. And he was terrified of him. What top player is scared of their round 2 at a US tournament? None of them, unless it's like a bad matchup specifically. Like, T ended up winning, it was fine, but like, he was actively afraid of him. That doesn't happen here. People gotta train online more, and like, I feel like every time something happens in Japan, people are like, oh my god, the online is so much better, and then I go to the top player, high-level player Discord server, and people aren't grinding. Honestly, you know, get the real reason that Japan is better, they have better public transit, because trains help everyone go to every major that they want to, and it's very doable, whereas it doesn't exist in the US, or Mexico, or Canada. We all need better public transit. Shake, shake, shake.